Hi, everyone. Welcome to First and North. My name is Luke Canellis at Fox 32 in Chicago. Joining me on this week's edition of First and North. Let's bring in the crew. From Fox Detroit, the voice of the Lions, Dan Miller. From Fox Milwaukee, Lily Zhao. And from Fox Minneapolis, Ahmad Hicks. Hi, everyone. Hey, we're into the preseason schedule, but first, I want to talk about the injury news in Green Bay. Lily, I'm going to bring you right in. We learned this morning Jordan Love needs to go through a, quote, little procedure. Tell us about it.
Right. He was seen in practice yesterday with his left thumb taped up. It's his non-throwing hand. And today, this morning, General Manager Brian Gutekunst and Head Coach Matt LaFleur acknowledging he will need to get a minor procedure done on that left thumb. And it is something that, they are looking at, but from what Matt LaFleur has heard, it's going to be a relatively quick recovery, which is good news. I think the fact it's on his non-throwing hand is also good news, and the fact they caught it and want to address it sooner is good for the Packers and Jordan Love. It's a ligament issue in that thumb that they're going to get worked on, and the hope is to bring him back next week. So the fact that he could be back next week is really good news in some form, some capacity, but it's highly unlikely he will practice this week. Next week, we'll see. And then the plan was to play him in that Week 3 preseason finale against the Seahawks. Now, that's looking very unlikely as well. So Jordan Love out at least this week with that thumb procedure. We'll see when he does come back. But the hope is that he should be ready to go for that Week 1 matchup against the Lions.
Okay,
guys.
so it sounds like the next game he starts for the Packers will be the opener against Detroit.
Yes, that's likely the plan. I think had he been healthy, he would have sat out Week 2 against the Colts and just kind of did that joint practice and then played potentially against the Seahawks. That was the original plan that Matt LaFleur had laid out. But now with that minor procedure, it looks like the Seahawks game likely out for Jordan Love, and the first game action he will see will be against the Lions if, again, that is the plan that they have said that they would like to have happen today.
All right, Lily, you guys talked to the Packers brass. Love injured the thumb during Saturday's game against the Jets when he was sacked. He played only 2 drives in that game, completed just 1 pass. Any regrets from the front office, from the coaching staff, that he even played in that game?
I don't think so. I think the plan originally, again, was to play him kind of a bunch this preseason. I think Matt LaFleur was kind of indicating that there was a lot of data that they had collected that playing now in the preseason leads to less injuries in the regular season, which of course didn't happen for Jordan Love. But I think he said the plan, regardless of who it was, any starter was going to play this preseason. So, the first drive that Jordan Love and the starting offense had, they went 3 and out, so they trotted him out for that second drive, and that's when he got injured on that sack when he was trying to improvise and hit his thumb on a helmet. So I don't think there's any regrets that he did go out there because, when your player is out there, there's always a risk for injury, especially in the preseason. But I think what Matt LaFleur wanted to do was just to get his guys in rhythm. He kind of talked about the fact they didn't play in a majority of the preseason last year, and they kind of came out sloppy. So he wanted to reverse that trend this year. But what came with it, though, was a ligament issue in Jordan Love's thumb. But I don't think there's any regrets in playing him. But it's unfortunate this is the outcome.
All right, I'll get it back to you in a bit because I know there are a number of Packers fans here in Chicago who want to know why the Packers defense allowed Justin Fields to look so good. Ahmad, let me bring you in. I want to ask you about J.J. McCarthy's 12 snaps. But before that, during postgame, McCarthy said he was emotional about his return from his injury. Take a listen.
Had a little teardrop, not gonna lie. Being out there right before the national anthem, just, this game is the best game in the world, and to be out there with this kind of group and this coaching staff, it was absolutely terrific.
And I think there's just a level of, composure and poise to how he ran the show that, was exactly what I was looking for. And now we go back to work.
I love McCarthy's transparency. He's loved in this town. He's a local kid. We just don't want him to play well on September 8th in the opener. Ahmad, I know McCarthy only played a handful of snaps against the Texans in the preseason opener. Number one, how did he look in the game? I know tough to judge with just a handful of snaps, but how's he been looking in camp as well?
You know, I think he looked good in the game. I think he checked every box. That he said he didn't have many boxes that he wanted to check. He said maybe there were other people, maybe doctors and trainers and things like that. But he showed off his athleticism, was faced with a fourth down, and him and Kevin O'Connell decided to go for it. He picked it up with his leg, so showed off that versatility. He showed off, you know, his decision making. And most importantly, they were able to get in and out of the huddle with no pre-snap penalties. So all in all, a win for McCarthy. Like you said, only 12 snaps, but the Patriots are coming to town. We'll talk about that a little later on, and that's where he'll get his big test. But he moved the ball, and they ended up with 3 points in his first drive this preseason. So it was a win, and he walked off the field healthy.
All right, we'll talk about McCarthy going up against Mike Vrabel's defense from New England in a second. Want to talk about here in Chicago what's going on with Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson did not play Williams in the preseason opener with Miami, but he put the second-year quarterback through a long workout, about an hour and a half, guys, before the game on Sunday against Miami. One reporter counted 87 plays for Williams, 3 receivers, a tight end, Cole Kmet, running back DeAndre Swift. Johnson was directing the whole workout. I mean, it was something I had never seen before prior to a preseason game. Johnson called in the plays to Williams. No defenders. They simulated everything. Felt it was much more beneficial than having Williams run a series or 2 against the Dolphins. Watching, Williams still had pre-snap issues yesterday at practice. His throws were off target again during Monday's practice. It has to start clicking for this guy, and I mean real soon. Maybe this Friday in the joint practice with Buffalo. Let me bring in Dan Miller. Dan, Lions defeated the Falcons 17-10 in their preseason game. Lions safety Maurice Norris suffered a potentially serious head-neck injury late in that preseason game with the Falcons. Now, I read where the powers that be in the NFL said the game should go on, but Dan Campbell and Atlanta head coach Raheem Morris felt otherwise. Number one, what's the latest on Norris's condition? And number 2, will there be any fallout for Campbell or Morris?
I don't anticipate, let's take the second half of that first, any fallout for Campbell or Norris. I think Dan Campbell didn't really want to get into it when he was asked about the league and what their communication was on Friday night. He and Raheem Morris had decided that they did not want to go on. Guys, it was an emotional scene, and I'm sure a lot of people have probably viewed it by now. But it was rough, and you could tell right away the player's going to a knee, motioning to the sideline. It's the quickest I've ever seen a backboard get out there. It's the quickest I've ever seen a cart get out there, and ultimately there was an ambulance out there. So there was a real feeling that they were dealing with something that could be very significant, and I think that affected the players from both teams. You could see that it did. I don't think either player from either team felt like for a preseason game they wanted to go on at that point. And Dan Campbell and Raheem Morris just decided that they didn't want to do it, that was going to be good. They'd gotten enough work in on that night, and they wanted to respect the situation and keep their minds on Maurice Norris. Now, the latest on him, great news. And it started to really turn positive late Friday night as some of his teammates started to interact with him. You could see that they were connecting to him on social media. He did spend the night in Atlanta in a hospital on Friday. There was some talk that he might even fly back with the team. But they decided that was not the prudent way to go. He did return to the facility over the weekend. He's back. He's taking part in team meetings. He does have a concussion. He's going to take it slow, according to Dan Campbell, for 10 to 14 days. But he is in concussion protocol. And I got to be honest, probably right now, while that is serious and nothing that you can, obviously look at and say isn't going to take some time to get better. Of all the scenarios that ran through our mind while he was on the field surrounded by all that medical personnel, that's probably the best case. So it sounds like he's going to be okay, but it's going to be a while before he clears protocol.
All right, thanks for the good news there. Lily, give me 30 seconds. Justin Fields never looked so good at Lambeau Field when he was the Bears starting quarterback. What happened with Fields leading the Jets against that Packers defense?
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Justin Fields. And when you have your supposed starting cornerback and Keyshawn Nixon kind of right up on his heels as he tries to turn the corner and make a beeline shot to the end zone, and Nixon can't tackle him, that's not what you want to see from a Packers starting defensive player. So, listen, they did not play well. The pressure did not get to Justin Fields, and when the pocket collapsed, he found his way out. I mean, it was really not what you wanted to see on literally all 3 phases of football from the Green Bay Packers. They had a dismal preseason performance, and the defense certainly made the Jets offense look just phenomenal. So again, it is preseason. It is week one, the very first drive that these starters played without, their 2 stars in the secondary who were both injured, but just not an encouraging start from the Packers defense whatsoever when Justin Fields is running up and down the Packers at Lambeau Field.
Hey, Ahmad, Vikings lose Jordan Addison for 3 games. Then they lose another wide receiver during the preseason opener and a couple of offensive linemen. Already injuries starting to hit Minnesota.
Yeah, you know what? But the offensive lineman, I don't think that was an area where it's like, yes, it's concerning a player went down, but I think they have a ton of depth right there, and I think their starters are good. But for Rondale Moore, he's a wide receiver. He was their punt return starter, and it's just unfortunate for him because he just came back from an ACL injury last season. And so Kevin O'Connell said after the game it was a significant knee injury, but he didn't come out and specify what exactly that was, and they still haven't given us an update. Rondale Moore did post on his Instagram page a couple of days ago just a picture of him walking in a stadium, and it said blessed. So we hope that he's doing okay, but we don't know the extent of his injury just yet. But from what it sounded like, it didn't sound good. So that means that Miles Price and now Lucky Jackson and maybe Jalen Naylor are mixing in for that punt return duties.
Hey, Dan, let you wrap this segment up. Backup quarterback Hendon Hooker lost 2 fumbles in that preseason game, and he got pulled early by head coach Dan Campbell. Dan, Hooker's been a solid backup. But is there any chance that the head coach has him traded if the mistakes continue?
Well, I think he's in danger of not winning the backup job. Let's say that. It's very much up for grabs between he and Kyle Allen. He did not come into camp with a leg up. It was even between those two. And leading into the preseason games, they were splitting backup snaps behind Jared Goff. So, look, I think he needs to play better. They turned it over 5 times in the Hall of Fame game. The message to the team was, regardless of who's wearing a Lions uniform, you can't do that because you can't win in the NFL like that. And he comes out as a runner and turns it over twice. So he's got to have pocket awareness, he's got to have ball awareness, and he's got to be better. Kyle Allen came in and took full advantage of his opportunity and, to most people's eye, took a leg up in the fight for that backup job. Hendon Hooker will have more opportunities this preseason, but right now I'd say he's running behind.
Yeah, we just showed the numbers. Allen's had a solid 2 games to open up the preseason. We need to take a timeout. When we come back here on First and North, our teams gear up for their joint practices this week. And will Caleb Williams be the best quarterback in the division at the end of this season? Wait till you hear what Fox Sports 1's Nick Wright has to say. Comes your way next here on First and North.
Major League Baseball on Fox.
What I'm doing, getting right to it. The money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I do it.
Oh my goodness! Major League Baseball all season long on Fox.
Welcome back to First and North. Lou Canellis with you at our Fox 32 studios in Chicago. Dan Miller is in Detroit. Lily Zhao is in Milwaukee, and Ahmad is in Minneapolis. Joint practices Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week. I want to start in Detroit. Isaac Tesla, the wide receiver, continues to shine in his first 2 preseason games with the Lions, earning glaring reviews from Dan Campbell.
I thought he did well. I thought he played better than he did the first week. And I would say ever since we put pads on, he's been trending this way, So that's a good sign, is that you're getting better with pads on than the pajamas. So that was awesome. He's doing well, man. He blocks on the perimeter. He's making big catches over the top of people. He's going up. His route detail is getting that much better. Scotty's doing a heck of a job with him and all those guys. So he's growing.
Yeah, glowing review there from his head coach. Dan, this guy's earning himself a role in this offense, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and that is a Dan Campbell staple. When you see Dan give it one of these, that's a good indication for the player, because that means they're trending up, and right now Isaac Tesla is certainly doing that. But you know what, Lou? He's been doing it since he walked in the door. They gave up a lot to get him in the 3rd round, 2 third-round picks next year, and Brad Holmes went on a limb and said, his opinion, that was his favorite receiver in this draft out of all of them. And he hasn't done anything to make anybody think that Brad's crazy to this point. He's been really good. He started to get some snaps with the #1 team. And I think he's somebody that, as you said, is now fighting for a role in this offense And I think they feel very good about everything that he's done, from catching the ball, running after the catch. You saw him make a nice move in the end zone using his body, which he's a big guy, to get between the defender and grab the football and then secure it. And then he'll block downfield as well. So it's exciting to see what he's done so far. Obviously, there's a lot in this story that still has to be written, but early returns are good.
Quickly, tell me, for the fans out there that are curious, how are the other rookies looking? Tate Ratledge, Tyleik Williams.
We saw him in a preseason game for the first time this past week, and I would say they were both solid. Look, Tyleik is going to be one of those guys playing defensive tackle that the numbers aren't going to blow you up, but if he does his job, it sets other people up to make the tackle, and he did that a couple of times on defense. So I think both Tyleik and Tate did a nice job on the interior on that offensive line, where they do have some questions, and they're counting on him to win one of those starting jobs. I thought for his first outing, he did a nice job as well. So they'll be involved heavily in these joint practices. These are going to be a big couple of days for them against the Dolphins this week, to go against first-teamers from Miami, to give these coaches an even further look at what they're capable of doing at this point. But again, so far, so good.
Let me bring in Ahmad. Ahmad, real good week for the Vikings here. They've got Mike Vrabel and the Patriots for a joint practice. What do you expect?
I think every position that needs to be tested will be tested, and we're going to start with the offensive line. No Christian Darrisaw at left tackle, but they have some new guys: Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, Donovan Jackson, right in the middle of that offensive line. So it's going to be a huge test for them going up against the Patriots. And Will Fries told me yesterday specifically he thinks these joint practices are a crucial part of your team's development going up against another one group, because you need that before you go play in a week 1 game. Then obviously J.J. McCarthy playing against the number 1 defense. We're going to see what that looks like. I know he struggled versus the Vikings, but I think a lot of people will struggle versus the Vikings and the front 7 that they're throwing out there on the football field. And lastly, it's going to be a good test for the secondary. I think with Stephon Diggs coming back to town, he'll have a lot of fans here as well, the former Viking. But this secondary is still unproven outside of Byron Murphy Jr. and Josh Metellus. So I think a lot of these guys are going to be tested, and it's a perfect opportunity to do so here in Minnesota this week.
Ahmad, give us the latest on Justin Jefferson's injury.
So he was seen jogging around yesterday, actually took part in a walkthrough with the first team offense. First time we've seen that since his injury. He was jogging around. He was catching the football. Looked like he was going about 35-50% yesterday. So it looks like things are trending upwards, but he still wasn't on the practice field with the guys, although he was doing some more movement, jogging around, throwing the ball. Even though he's not participating, he's still leading in every way possible.
By the way, I saw him on the broadcast over the weekend during Saturday's preseason game. You better watch out. He's going to take your job when he's done playing football.
I know, man, and he has all that bling, too, so he's just going to stand out. You know, as soon as he gets in front of a camera, he may blind the viewers at home.
Exactly. Lily, we talked about Love's injury. Doesn't stop there. Jaden Reed was seen walking in a boot. And how about Xavier McKinney as well? He didn't play. Packers fans, are they a little worried now?
Yeah, it's certainly concerning when you have so many starters, especially at wide receiver, who are dealing with injuries. You mentioned Jaden Reed, seen in a boot, dealing with a toe-foot injury. Packers hoping he's back for the start of the regular season, but Jaden himself wouldn't really give a timeline on when he would return. Matt LaFleur said it's certainly concerning when a guy's wearing a boot. Then you mentioned Xavier McKinney dealing with a lingering calf injury and not likely to practice the rest of the preseason. Nate Hobbs had a minor procedure done on his knee. And then you talk about the rest of the receivers. Dontavian Wicks out with a calf injury. Savon Williams dealing with a shoulder injury. You have Jaden Reed out, and then Romeo Doubs went down hard in practice. Today is back. He said he's okay. Christian Watson starting the year on the PUP. Who else do we have? Oh, that's right. Bubble wrap Matthew Golden. Just bubble wrap him. Packers dealing with a lot of injuries to starters as they go into joint practice this week against the Colts.
Wow. All right, we've already
Is anybody going to be able to play wide receiver? My goodness.
It sounds like Detroit last year.
Man, we've talked about this on the show. We've talked about it here in Chicago. Boy, I'll tell you what, the public scrutiny for Caleb Williams, it's been rough, and it does not stop. But Nick Wright from FS1 made a bold statement on where Williams stands amongst the quarterbacks in the NFC North.
By the end of this season, Caleb Williams will be by many considered the best quarterback in his division. I think Jared Goff is going to suffer a bit from the lack of Ben Johnson. As much as you don't like Ben Johnson, the head coach, you loved Ben Johnson, the coordinator, and the early reports out of that training camp are that That transition's been a little rocky. And I think we're going to see a fair amount of J-No to go along with J-Lo.
Oh my gosh, if you folks could have seen Ahmad Hicks while he listened to Nick Wright. And I'm going to let Ahmad jump in here in a second.
Go ahead, Ahmad. Let's hear it.
You got to jump in before I tell you what I think.
I just have a big gripe with national reporters or national analysts who give takes like that, who aren't at practice, who aren't watching anything, and you know they aren't watching a full 17-game schedule and watching all the film and seeing everything around them. So do I think Caleb Williams will be the best quarterback in the conference? I'm not saying he won't be, but that's a steep hill to climb. But Nick Wright, other analysts like Stephen A. Smith, give me a break. Come to practice first and then make a take like that.
I'm with you. Ahmad, I'm with you. And listen, man, I hope Nick Wright isn't wrong, because I'm just not there yet.
You and everybody else in Chicago.
Dan, I see still way too many pre-snap mistakes, slow at progressions, can't get the full football out before the pressure hits. But I'm counting on Ben Johnson. And Dan, you know Ben Johnson better than any of us. I just hope Caleb can excel in structure, and when he needs to use his athleticism and ad-lib, save a play, that he can do that. But that can't be his first option. It doesn't work in a Ben Johnson offensive scheme, or at least that's what we're told, and that's what it looks like so far. It's going to take time, and it means, in my opinion, guys, and I've talked about it, rocky start when the games count, but the Bears can't give up on what they're trying to build. When the Lions opened up 1-6, did people panic in Detroit? Vikings to open up the season, then at Detroit, home against Matt Eberflus's Cowboys defense, and then on the road at Vegas before the bye week. Man, 2-2, that would be a great start. 1-3, 0-4. I'm telling you right now, the natives in this town will get restless. Before we go to break, Packers rookie wide receiver Matthew Golden, he's turned heads this offseason. Jordan Love said he's going to be a stud, made a promise on what his first purchase would be back on draft night. And guess what? He made good on that promise.
Been waiting to see you, see mama, you know. You know what that is, right?
I knew it. I knew y'all was up to something. Hi, Grandma. Hi, I'm Nimesh. I want to say congratulations. These are yours.
Go ahead and grab it.
Can I go in?
Super cool. Being able to buy this dream house means everything to me. Can't describe the feeling. It might be a little bit better than getting drafted, you know, just because it's a big milestone for me. Something my mom and grandma always taught me was to, you know, always just get back to my people.
Say what you want about their play on the football field, Lily. When you see something like that, you can't help but pull for the guy.
Yeah, he lived up to his promise, and it's something we talked about on draft night extensively with him. I mean, he always mentioned his grandma was going to lose the plot, the house, and he talked about his rough upbringing and just what it meant to have his mom and his grandma have his back, and, you know, just what it meant for him just to kind of go through this journey with him and to repay them in that way, to repay his grandma in that way, was such a touching moment to see. And I think he also said it was, you know, better than being drafted. So what a moment for Matthew Golden and his family, for him to be able to do that. And I think he's going to be able to do a lot more in years to come, because he is certainly going to be such a special player. Yeah, beautiful story. We need to take our final time out. When we come back, can you gain a yard in an NFL game? Yeah, I'm looking at you, audience. If I gave you the football and told you you're going to try to get a yard against that NFL defense, can you do it? Wait till you hear what someone on this show thinks. Comes your way next on First and North.
This is the future of golf. It all starts here. Live Golf on Fox.
This is going to be hot. It'll be a party. Long live golf.
Let's go!
Come on now. Come on. What is you talking about?
I can get a yard.
I can get a
yard.
what?
I can get a yard.
You could get a who?
No. That's not cap. That's certified.
You could get a yard stick.
No. A yard. You put me behind a good offensive line, good center. I'm not lining up 7 yards in the backfield. Maybe like 4. We'll cut the distance so we can make it easier.
That was from Ahmad's podcast. Must be two sides. Ahmad, do you actually think you can gain a yard against a Brian Flores defense?
Oh, that's a tough defense. Maybe you give me the worst defense 12 years ago in my prime with a good offensive line, good lead blocker. Yes, absolutely.
Jump
Not
in,
now.
Dan.
A quick question, Ahmad. Who has a better chance of being right, you or Nick Wright?
Me, absolutely, me.
Hey, congratulations.
Can we put this to the test? What are we putting Ahmad out there?
Congrats to our team member, Pierre Nugent, who got married this past weekend. Dan, Lily, I didn't get invited. I guess our invites got lost in the mail.
Me neither.
Oh,
So
you
did my
either.
present.
You work with them. Guys,
No one
great
at
job.
Fox
I'll
9.
talk to you later. We'll see you next week on First and North.